My name is William, and tonight we enter the Mughal court at the moment when a private marriage became a second throne. Jahangir ruled a vast empire of marble halls, jeweled daggers, Persian verse, and obedience. Yet beside him rose Nur Jahan, a woman so gifted and politically brilliant that courtiers began to ask where imperial love ended and imperial power began. Her story did not begin as a fairy tale. She was born Merunisa into a Persian family that found its future inside the Mughal world. She knew refinement, danger, and the art of surviving near power. Before she became the emperor's wife, she had already known marriage, widowhood, and the court's habit of watching women without fully admitting what women could do. The Mughal court was magnificent, but never gentle. Every jewel had a meaning. Every robe marked rank. Men stood by ancestry office and military service. Women lived behind guarded walls. Yet influence could move through letters, gifts, marriages, and the ambitions of sons. At court, no act stood alone. A nod, a gift, a seal, a robe, a word, all meant rank. Then Jahangir married Nur Jahan, and something rare began. She was not merely kept in the private world of the palace. She emerged as a force. Her name was linked to imperial orders. Coins carried references to her authority. She appeared in the language of rule. In a dynasty built on male succession, this was not decoration. It was a change in the air. Picture Agra or Lahore at dusk. Red sandstone warms in the fading sun. Water runs through a garden channel. The air carries rosewater, dust, and ink. Behind carved screens, messages pass from careful hands to waiting officials. A seal presses into wax. A decision moves from the inner palace to the empire beyond. And near the center of that movement stands Nur Jahan. The full story behind this might surprise you, because Jahangir was not simply overpowered by her. He was an emperor with taste, pride, and judgment. But he was also a man worn by illness, habit, and rule. Nur Jahan seems to have offered him steadiness. She could soothe the court and sharpen it. This is where the romance becomes political. Devotion gave her access, but ability gave it force. She was known for intelligence, taste, courage, and discipline. Some accounts remember her as a skilled hunter, a patron of art and building, and a woman of rare command. She understood that beauty at court mattered, but order mattered more. Yet in such a palace, admiration quickly turns to fear. If the emperor listens too closely to one person, every rival feels shut out. If that person is a woman, the resentment grows sharper. Nobles who might accept influence from a prince or commander could call the same influence dangerous when it came through a queen. Nur Jahan's brilliance made her powerful. Her power made blame easy. Around her gathered a formidable family network. Her father rose to great rank. Her brother Asaf Khan became a central man at court. Marriage alliances tied her circle to the imperial sons. In the Mughal court, it became a whispered question. Was the empire being drawn into one woman's household? And here is the intriguing part most people miss. Nur Jahan did not seize power in one act of ambition. The system itself invited influence through family. It depended on marriage, loyalty, household ties, and carefully placed favor. She mastered the very rules that had been built around her. That is why her rise feels astonishing. A quiet bond can move a realm, and a closed door can shape what a whole court must endure in pain and fear. But mastery creates enemies. Jahangir had sons, and sons in an empire are never merely children. they are possible futures. Prince Khurram was gifted, ambitious, and deeply aware of his own worth. Nur Jahan's circle had its own hopes, the court divided around the question that haunts every dynasty. Who will inherit when the ruler weakens? A son was hope, a son was risk, a son could be a shield for his mother, or the blade that cut her from power. At first, ceremony hid the tension. There were processions, gifts, audiences, hunts, and festivals. Silk can cover a great deal, but it cannot quiet secession for long. As Jahangir's strength faltered, every appointment, every marriage, every journey, and each recommendation became part of a larger contest. Nur Jahan tried to shape the future. Some historians believe she favored an arrangement that would preserve her influence through alliances close to her side of the family. Khurram resisted any path that reduced his own claim. What had begun as a marriage of exceptional trust now stood inside the machinery of imperial inheritance. A private bond may begin with comfort, loyalty, and genuine affection, but once it touches succession, it becomes dangerous. The heart may ask for closeness. The empire asks who benefits from that closeness. The court asks who rises, who falls, and who will be left standing. The crisis sharpened when rebellion and suspicion entered the imperial family. Khurram defied the court, and the empire felt the cost of divided loyalty. Commanders had to choose carefully. Officials watched the wind. A prince who should have secured continuity became a rival center of power. The polished Mughal world began to show its fractures. Nur Jahan herself remained composed in the story. She was not a shadowy whisper behind a curtain. She was a political actor with courage and presence. When authority was threatened, she could act. When the court needed decision, she could provide it. One moment in this story feels almost theatrical. The emperor, weakened by age and illness, the queen, still alert and commanding. The princes circling the future, the nobles calculating where loyalty should fall. The court's music still plays, but beneath it lies the harder sound of a dynasty preparing for struggle. Yet the truth is even more heartbreaking. Nur Jahan's power depended on Jahangir, but her intelligence outgrew the role of beloved wife. She had become too important to disappear quietly, and too closely tied to a fading ruler to command the future alone. Her rise was extraordinary, but it was also fragile. Once the emperor was gone, the court would decide what to remember. When Jahangir died, the succession moved with speed and severity. Asaf Khan, her own brother, backed Khurram, not the candidate most closely aligned with Nur Jahan. The queen, who had once seemed to hold the empire in her hand, found the game turning around her. Power, which had flowed through devotion, began to flow elsewhere. Nur Jahan entered history as a woman who changed the grammar of Mughal rule. She issued influence through seals, coinage, patronage, and marriage. She made the inner palace visible as a place of decision. But the same ascent that made her legendary also hardened the succession struggle. We should not reduce her to a schemer. That would be lazy history. Nor should we turn Jahangir into a helpless ruler. Their partnership was more complex than that. It was a marriage in which affection, trust, weakness, talent, and ambition became impossible to separate. The scandal was not that she had influence. The scandal, to many watching men, was that she used it so well. That is why the story still feels so alive. It is not only about a queen, it is about the price of being seen. So what did Nur Jahan truly seize? Not the Mughal Empire in the crude sense. She seized its attention. She seized the channels through which decisions passed. She seized a place in a world designed to keep women powerful but unseen. For a time, she stood at the center of imperial life. In the end, Jahangir and Nur Jahan's devotion did not destroy the Mughal world, but changed its air. It revealed how much power could live behind screens, inside marriage, within family strategy, and beneath court ritual. It turned private affection into public authority, and public authority into a succession struggle. If this story made you see the Mughal court differently, tell me what you think below. Was Nur Jahan a loyal partner, protecting a weakening emperor, or the most formidable political mind of her age? If you found this journey moving, leave a like, and join me again for more stories where duty, reputation, and heartbreak meet behind palace walls. History often hides its most painful truths in the moment when love becomes power, and power begins to ask for more.